And then before you know it, it's Christmas. One of the best things about Christmas for me is Mam would take me to the pantomime at New Theatre, knowing I was developing a love for the stage and all of that, and being as encouraging as she was. I never understood why they called it New Theatre though. It was built in 1939. Surely it should just have been called Theatre by then. I think there might have even been some sort of petition to change it at some point, but then rather than respond to any sort of pressure group, what they did more recently was knock the original down and build a more modern one, just so they could keep the name New Theatre. I mean, honestly, the lengths the authorities go to avoid the will of the people. It's ridiculous, isn't it? I remember the very first Panto I went to. It had local legend Norman Collier in it. And despite it being a really lavish sort of set, which they'd obviously spent a bit of money on, they must have stinted on the budget somewhere, 'cause his microphone kept cutting out. I mean, I was embarrassed for him. But to his credit, he handled it brilliantly, getting huge laughs out of the situation. A total pro. Years later, when I met the man, he told me it used to happen a lot, and as a result, he'd developed a routine to cope with it, to make it look as though it was all part of the act. I mean, what class! Being able to anticipate a faulty mic like that and pretending he knew what was going on. A lovely fella as well, and so open about the tricks he employed. You can't say that about every showbiz type you meet. Some of them would have just strung you along in that situation. I was always excited about Christmas, but there was some stuff I never understood. I never understood why it was your parents went on about not talking to strangers all year, and then let an old man they'd never met come into your bedroom without supervision. Who's going to give you a present if you were good? I mean, I can see why some kids played up like they did, just so they could avoid the experience. I just stuck a no vacancies sign outside my window, which I assumed did the trick. And I never understood why it was your parents got you all excited about Christmas and then spent most of it telling you to calm down. It's like filling you full of brandy snap, candy floss, and other sweets that didn't immediately lend their name to those of exotic dancers, and then telling you off when you threw up everywhere. I never understood why it was your parents would always go on about the fact they only ever got a Mars bar and an orange. Not just once, but all the time. I mean, didn't they have Jaffa cakes back then? It sounds like it could have saved a lot of bother. If they'd had chocolate orange flavoured Nesquik, I'd have been happy to have that as my only present. But I loved getting involved in the preparations, like emptying the big bottle of whiskey that Uncle Brian had left behind, and discovering that you had just about enough money to buy another big bottle of whiskey, basically. You're just accumulating empty bottles of whiskey, aren't you? Or getting a bunch of coat hangers, some glitter and some candles from Leslie's hippie mate in Bachelor Street to make an advent crown. Or strong-scented fire hazard if you prefer. I'm surprised there wasn't a public information film about that one. Somewhere between an unsupervised old man coming into your room and an advent crown burning the house down, Christmas could be quite scary in parts. Mam used to get me to help her write the cards as well, and we'd sort them out so we'd send the nicest ones to the people we liked the most. Anybody we weren't really keen on, we'd just send them one of those dodgy candle ones at the bottom of the box. Probably goes a long way to explaining why our mantelpiece was always full of dodgy candle cards. Not one, but all of them, without even a watch to separate them. On this particular year, Uncle Sandy had got a job during the Christmas holidays working as a Santa Claus in Hammonds. I say Hammonds, it could have been Bins, but I didn't like the sound of that. Hammonds sounds much more organic, doesn't it? I mean, who wants to hear people saying stuff like your mam goes shopping in Bins? It makes you sound impoverished, like people who wear sannies instead of wellies. Under normal circumstances, I'd visit Santa and really look forward to doing all right in the process. Les had always taught me that when I was asked what I wanted for Christmas, I should say, me personally, nothing. But world peace would be nice for all of the other little boys and girls in other countries, which would usually guarantee a great present. With Uncle Sandy doing it, I felt like I'd probably do all right anyway. So what happened was, Mam sent me up a floor while she went to look at the colour TVs. But as I got near to the grotto, I couldn't see Uncle Sandy, so I thought, 'cause I knew him, it'd be okay to go behind the curtain. As I got closer, I started to make out his voice, and the ladies saying stuff like, "I must say you fill those stockings really well," and "Yeah, but when are you going to give me my present?" Only to stick my head through the curtain and see one of the store assistants dressed as an elf, sitting right on Uncle Sandy's lap. Well, he nearly jumped out of his Santa's outfit and started saying stuff like, "We were just practicing. It's not how it looks. It's this lady's job to give me a hand. She was just rummaging around in my sack," which sounded like even more of a carry-on. Like he was in a tight spot and he had to give it his best shot. Now the truth was, I really liked Uncle Sandy, and I'd probably never told Mam anyway, 'cause I wouldn't want to upset her, and I didn't want to see them split up. They were good together. But it must have sounded like I was going to, 'cause when I said I'm a bit disappointed, he obviously heard Mam's voice through what I was saying. I mean, whatever, I didn't tell her anyway. But guess what? Not only did we get our colour TV that year, I also got the bike I'd been after for so long. It was green, and I wasn't in the least bit disappointed.